Hi, this is Dan here. I hope you're doing really well today. I did a short recently, which was that chord progression that you heard me playing over just now. And it occurred to me that it would be a really good idea to play a bass solo over this. So that's what we're going to do this lesson. And the chords are this. They're E minor 9, going to F major add 9. Now that just so happens to be the chords from Hey Jiro by Joni Mitchell, and there's a brilliant version with Jaco Pastorius on bass on the Shadows and Light live tour. So I'll put a link to that below. Really worth listening to. It's just beautiful. And there's some interesting things going on here, and really what I'm going to talk about are two things in this lesson. Number one is, what notes do you play over a chord progression like this, and how can we phrase those notes to make them sound really good in a bass solo context? Because I had a couple of ideas before pressing record. One of them was this. So let's just review the E minor add 9 chord. We have a root, we have a 5, a 9. That's the 9th note in the scale. It's just the second up the octave. It's a lovely sounding chord. We've got the flat 10th, which is on the 12th fret of the G string, and it's got that kind of grating sound on its own, because that's a minor second, but just balanced with the other notes in the chord. It's got a lovely sound. So one thing I was doing in the solo, and this is a good tip on a bass solo, is not to start from the root of the chord, which in this case is an E. As bass players, we're very drawn to that note. That's kind of what we should be playing a lot of the time when we play bass lines, but it doesn't always sound very good when you're playing solo. So I'm starting on the 5th there, just the pattern from the 5. So the 5, the 9 and the flat 10. Okay, so in terms of note choices, that's quite a good place to start. And then as you can hear there, I was kind of trying to come up with some kind of rhythm with those notes. That creates a phrase. So 3, 4, 1. Holding on to notes is a good thing. Before moving on to the next chord, I'll talk about a scale that you can play, because every chord comes from a scale. And the one that I'm hearing over this is E Aeolian or E natural minor. If these words names don't mean much to you, don't worry. I've got the shape here, and it's just literally a case of learning it and just trying it out. So this is the E natural minor scale. In 2 octaves, or not 2 octaves, but just going beyond that octave. Going beyond the octave to get more notes to play with. Then you have some options when you're soloing. I'm going to move to the next chord. This is an F major add 9. Very similar to the first one. We've got a root, a 5 and a 9. But it's major, so we don't have a minor 10th, we've got a major 10th, which is always 1 fret higher than where your root is, and if you're on the E string, it's on the G string. That's an E with a flat 10, and then F with a major 10. So there's our exactly the same idea as before. So I'm going to take now the little phrase going from the 5th. I'm going to punch in the backing track here and play something. So just maybe not the notes in the order I showed you. There I think I went from the 10th to start with. They fit perfectly over the chord. That's the first thing to do, is to think about notes that work over the specific chords and craft it into some phrases. Next, let's take the scale that comes from the chord. I told you the one over E, that's E natural minor. E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E. And then when you go to the F, it's F Lydian. As I say, don't worry if you don't know what that means. The notes are simply F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F. notice that the notes are exactly the same as the E natural minor, just with the difference of one note, and that's that F sharp sort of turning into an F, if you like. And it's just the fact that they're so closely linked, those two scales. I think that's why this works. But here's one thing you can do. We'll kick in the backing track, and I'll just play a scale going up and down over each one. I went beyond the octave the second time round, and then I think this is an important point. I tried to make it not sound like I was playing a scale, and one good way of doing that is to just inject a little bit of rhythm into what you're playing. So I was going something like this, and then I went, and there, if I'm playing in some different techniques like hammer-ons, pull-offs, that's what I did there. That's a slide. That's when you start to really bring the notes to life, is when you add good rhythms and good techniques in the form of articulations. That's what those things are, you know. Slides, vibrato, bends, all of those types of techniques. They will really make your note selections sound a bit more like music. Okay, so let me kick in the track and I'll play a few things. There's another phrase I really want to show you. I'll do that actually now. This is something I found literally just before recording. I was just playing along to the backing track, and that's a really good thing to do, is just to get lost in a beautiful chord progression like this and just play and play until you find something. And this is what I found, very much linked to what I was playing before, but I just found a little pattern which I'll show you now. It's frets 12, 14 and 16 on the G and the D strings. So this is over the E minor 9 chord. It's just so happens to start on a D, but I am using the notes of that scale, the E natural minor. So D, E, F sharp, G, A, B. It's just that. Right, I want you to memorize that pattern. Because the frets are a little narrower here, that stretch shouldn't be too bad. That sort of a, 1, 2, 3, like 5 fret stretch is pretty horrible down here. Here it should be okay. Now if you do exactly the same shape now, but instead of starting on the 12th fret with your first finger, you jump all the way to one past where your little finger is now. So 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 to the 17th fret of the G string with the same pattern. That pattern, which is the same but moved, it allows you to play very similar phrases. And when you're soloing, repetition is a really good device to use in solos. Let me switch to a funk thing. If I were doing a funk solo in E, like minor. I was repeating not only notes but rhythms. So that's a very good device, any style of solo. So practice that. Let's do that again over the chords. So there, I was exploiting that interesting minor second interval there. So frets 14 to 16 on the D string, doing a hammer on, and having that note ring out while stretching the first finger to the 12th fret, then you get that clash. Against the E, it sounds really good. Just coming down those notes. And then just doing exactly the same thing over the same pattern up here. I find that sort of idea in solos, it just ties things together a little bit. So what I'd like you to do is download the free PDF that comes with this lesson, plus that backing track. It's 5 minutes long, so you can just press play for 5 minutes, and then, you know, play over it again, and you'll get lost in certain ideas that you find using those notes. The way you play, the rhythms that you want to put in will make you sound like you and not me. At the beginning, I was using some effects on that as well, and I find that atmospheric effects over this kind of thing sounds great. So whack on some delay, reverb, chorus, whatever you've got. I hope you had fun with that lesson. Please do like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you've got any questions about this, let me know. I can always do a follow-up or a similar lesson like this. Thanks for watching. See you next time.